start now. I can start now. Yay! Let's get on to this. Hello, hello, and welcome, folks. This is Satria. Had a bit of a streaming issue, but let's go ahead and get started on that. Alrighty. I know it has been quite a bit of time for me to get back into working on comics, but especially since I have 3 more pages of inking to do left, so that way I can finally update part 1 of chapter 2. Definitely have to say I really want to get at least 2 of the pages done and then get the last page done tomorrow, and then get into the toning and the inking and things like that. So let's see here. Just gonna do a quick little few things off screen and we will get right into working on some pages. Hope that some of you who get to come into the chat are doing well, and hope that those that get to watch the replay, maybe you're watching this while you're just working on your own stuff. Hopefully you're finding it quite well too. I'm just gonna go ahead here and check on a few things. Pause right here. And keep in mind you can't see all these things, but I'm gonna go ahead and get this working in here. Been having a bit of a technical problems also lately for some reason, but I think all is good. Okay. Just work on this last bit. Okay. Alright. I think that's as good as we're gonna get it. Alright. Do let me know if you are unable to hear me clearly or correctly. Hopefully. Hope the music is not too loud for you folks either. So, alright. I have to say that lately I've been a little bit angsty. Lots of extra stuff happening on in the background. But still wanting to get my comic stuff done, so I'm very much gonna work with that. Sorry if you hear a bit of weird clicking and tapping. I'm just rearranging my desk here. Okay. Testing out the pens. All is good. Okay. It's kind of annoying getting back to working on stuff on a regular when it's been a while since you've last touched it, but here's to hoping. Anyhow. I know that eventually I'll be straying into a couple of other topics, but I'll just give a mixed bag topics about what's been going on, and maybe give more of a commentary of what goes through my mind when I'm working on my projects here. it's not really a natural thing for me to talk while I'm working, but I'm hoping that more. I'm hoping to be able to share more and more of my work with you guys, so work on that. Just doing a quick auto check right here. Okay. All right. I don't have the best of voice when it comes to these things either, you know. Don't know why. Can't help it. Let's see here. Okay. If any of you guys are new to my channel by the time you hear the replay for this, the name is Cetriya, Cetriya. You could easily find my other social media accounts on there. Just basically Google that name, Cetriya, and you'll easily find more of the stuff that I'm working on. Right now I'm just working on my comic Cross Star. Thanks for stopping by, Dora Gonzalez, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'm glad you enjoyed the first chapter. Hopefully I'll have chapter 2 perhaps done by the end of this. Well, not all of chapter 2, but about 10 pages of chapter 2 done by the end of this week. And hopefully get the second part of chapter 2 done a few weeks after that. It can't be helped since I work full-time and my job requires me to draw full-time, so it's not very easy on my back. And after the whole Inktober bit, I'm a little bit tired of just sitting there and drawing all the time, but I actually do want to draw. Mentally, I desire to draw. Physically, I have limitations. If you have any specific thoughts of what you liked about my about the first comic, I'd love to hear from you. I've kind of written chapter 3 a few times now, and just really thinking about how to pace the story correctly, and just kind of not necessarily self-doubt, but I want to make sure that it makes sense to you guys who are reading the story versus me who already know everything about the story because I'm the writer. I know what the story is going to end up as. I know where the main character, what's his motivation, what he's doing things. I just want to make sure I'm able to really show that up in the comic. See here. Yeah, I really do try to get I don't know, when I'm watching shows myself or reading stories myself, I get really bothered by how the pacing is set up. I don't want to get too much in a rant about a recent popular comic that I read, but I really do feel like sometimes things are either too predictable or they just kind of jump ship to the next thing and it just end up being really weird. Not enough to upset me, just kind of like it stops being enjoyable. So I want people to enjoy this. At the same time, I'm not too much of a perfectionist, and this is the first time I'm doing a very long story. So I know I'll make some mistakes, but I want to actually do the best I can. At the same time, being relatively realistic with my capabilities. Just a heads up, I am actually quite slow with the inking. I can go faster, but I'm trying to challenge myself to include more detail, to include more finesse and make the artwork as best as I'm capable of doing it right now. And hopefully the more I do this, the faster I'll get. I'm still not that confident with my humor, but people keep on saying that my stuff is just funny enough in that kind of tongue-in-cheek or cynical matter. So I'm glad about that because I do like a little bit of unexpected laughs where it's not really that forced. I do appreciate that. So I hope to bring that into the story because the story will have some stronger, not darker moments, but some stronger moments, and I want to keep it light and adventurous while still, delivering a compelling story. I'm trying really hard to keep his hands from not looking like girl hands. Like, that's not easy. I usually draw in a very, like, girly or shoujo manga style, but since this is an action comic, I kind of figure you kind of need to, like, not make the characters look like they were made from flowers or something. Yeah, I love black and white artwork. I recently last weekend I went to my parents' house and picked up more of my art books. And I don't know, I'm kind of biased towards black and white work or very clean work. It just shows the level of control and craftsmanship that I feel sometimes highly rendered or overly colored stuff tend to hide. And it doesn't matter whether it was done digitally or not. I think both times you could easily hide some of your flaws by a lot of color, whereas black and white is very pure, so you can't really hide behind that, on top of the fact that most of the time people are more attracted to color artwork. I'm keeping the number of chapters open. I have beats in terms of where the story is supposed to go and how the character is progressing. That's part of the challenges of this comic. I'm letting it develop organically, so that way maybe after a few years when it's done, I can go back and look at how I started the story and how I ended up the story. But I do have moments where the character develops, the side character develops. I'm just trying to keep this really organic while still having like a goal in mind. I know what the end is supposed to be, but the adventure towards the end is just as much of a discovery as it will be for you guys when you're reading it. I really want it to be a surprising, pleasant read, and I don't want to make it a little bit too stiff because I do get that comment with some of my shorter works. Sometimes people feel like it's not that the story didn't end properly, it's just they felt like there could have been more to add to it. So I don't want to constrain this story. I don't have a publication schedule for it. I'm trying to keep a decent deadline with it. So I don't see the need to make, to limit the chapters. At the same time, if I find the end of the story, like I'm getting towards the end, I'm not going to extend it. I have no reason to be. Even if I all of a sudden, for some odd reason, this story end up being like super popular, famous, which it never will. But if it ever did, I like my story to have a proper ending. I don't like stories that keep going on and on and on and on and on and on. But I mean, I have a goal that I want to get to with the story. It's probably about 10 volumes. So 10 volumes of comics is roughly 6 chapters, so maybe 60 chapters, maybe. So long as my health is okay. I really don't want to rush this one. I do have a one-shot that I published about a year and a half ago with Kickstarter called Eau Claire, and already I have some people mention they'd like the story to be expanded, but I'll probably merge that into another story plan that I have, kind of sort of like but that one's going to be like a light novel, because I feel for what the kind of story that it is, I wouldn't really, there's no need for me to draw it, but I'd like to write it and explore it. Really, really hard to make these guys' hands not look girly. I'm trying not to put too much detail into the hands. I spend a lot of time with the inking, because one of my pet peeves that people do when they're inking, whether it's digital or traditional, like you can kind of tell once you start getting used to using some of the tools. And I do that. I do this too, to an extent, because I'm still learning, but I'm starting to get to a point in the level of my art that I can see this issue coming up, and that is, I'm going to see if I could show a quick example of this. When you're inking, right, you can control the thin and thickness, so all I'm doing is just pressing light and pressing heavy. But what really comes to the fact is, let's say you're drawing 2 lines together. So here's a thin line and then 2 thin lines, but something that a lot of people don't take control of is going from thin to thick to thin, and then here where it intersects, actually deciding that this should be thicker or deciding that it should be thinner. It gives a very different feel from thin to thick. A lot of times people are just like inking and just going about, but then they're not really considering, like, how do you want your corners to actually act like. That's a very different, this right here is very different feel than what you had going on right here. And sometimes I can tell that someone was just going about inking and not really considering how the overall feel once you're done with the illustration will actually look like if you actually control the line weights. That's why even though the line looks clean and straight, I might erase it, because I want to really finesse the line weights. Oh, really? What was one of some of the earlier work that you've seen of my stuff? I'm sure you've noticed already all the style change that I've done. I've been doing this for some time, but I tend to take a lot of breaks off and on. I feel to an extent that I've kind of not wasted my 20s, but I've just been so not really as productive as I could have been. So for anyone who listens to this later on, I am definitely not one of those artists that coming out with super awesome artwork at like age 19 and anything like that. Nope. I'm definitely not those people. I didn't really start drawing until I was like 17 anyways, so yeah. For those of you who haven't read the comic, I'll make sure to put a link below later on after this video is finished uploading to YouTube, but or Facebook or wherever you're seeing this. But It's meant to be a sci-fi adventure comic. Pretty contemporary. Our main character is was accidentally, it's a bit, I don't want to, well, it's a small spoiler, but he was accidentally chosen to be the champion of Earth, but he wasn't meant to be the one to be chosen, but the person who ended up accidentally getting him just accept it as is because they can't change anything, and there's a little bit of conspiracy when it comes to what it means to be a champion and all that. And in the mix of it, you just have the main character, holding down 2 jobs and going to school, though not the best at going to at school, and just trying to get things done while also having to do all these fight battles for Earth, even though he has no interest of actually fighting. But I mean, if he doesn't, who else is gonna? Next thing you know, he doesn't want Earth to go get overly, pressured or whatever. So I have to make sure I'm not giving him extra fingers. That happens randomly. Well, I'll just keep on drawing because I'm so zoomed in. And then all of a sudden I zoom out and I'm like, huh, this character has 6 fingers now. Let's see here. Here we go. All right. After I do the general main outlines, especially the delicate ones, I'll more than likely go back and make these pages, these inks thicker. One of the things I don't like drawing is like nondescript tech. So the recent, Photoshop update has finally, after all these years, finally has a, a pen or stroke correction tool. So far I don't like it, but it's better than nothing, and I think I will get used to it eventually. Lately, for some reason, I don't know if it's the GPU or the CPU or whatever technical questions with the computer, it has not been liking my manga studio. I don't know if it's the drivers or what. I know I've been hearing that Wacom's hasn't been too good with the recent Microsoft and Adobe updates either, and it's just I don't understand the world of business. I don't know if it's just an American thing. I just don't get why companies that know that they are unable to do every single thing completely just compete against each other for no reason. Like, for some reason, Microsoft is purposely trying to keep Wacom stuff being compatible with their things for no reason. And it's like, Microsoft, you have video games, you have computers, you have software. You don't need to have everything. And quite frankly, you really cannot be good at everything. So stop it. On the flip side, Wacom is getting all antsy and not updating its drivers and purposely allowing all these other companies to just eat at their market margin. And then you have, what else? I mean, it's just a number of things that's really unnecessary. Or you have Adobe, which switched to a subscription model, which it's really is just because they didn't want to deal with having to keep their program from being whatchamacallit, pirated. And I understand that part, but I also think they're also trying to keep people from holding on to their software from being updated for some. Going to offer such a service, you're gonna have to realize that it's better to work together than to work apart, because Microsoft is not all of a sudden gonna bring out an Adobe version. Adobe is not about to start making computers. Wacom is definitely not about to start to make art programs. Well, maybe they are. Who knows? And it's just making everyone else's life a little bit more frustrating unnecessarily. And I don't understand where it translates into money. So, but I digress. We'll stop about corporations and just go back into comics now. Oh, that's so far back. I probably made a story. Let's see. I don't exactly recall Galactic Divine, but in terms of what was the name of it before, but I think it was a story that I did where the guy, I think he was mostly in blue. He was from like a water world, and he came to Earth, I think. And the main character was Spanish. I know that because it was a gift for my friend. So I made a little comic. And then he ended up going back home. But I don't vaguely remember because it wasn't really a good story. But that is old. Wow. Again, it kind of reminds me, it's been like, you see how you posted like 2004, 2002 or something? And because I have not been consistent, I probably would have had a lot more people reading and enjoying my artwork, and I probably would have had much more stuff done if I just sat and did the work, which is why I've been lately getting a couple of people saying that you're very consistent with uploading, and it's like, it's because I've had like 10 years of not uploading consistently. So now I finally just got up and be like, you should probably just, upload consistently. Let's go to the next panel right now because I've been spending way too much time on this panel. I hope. Sometimes I worry if I'm being a little bit too conspicuous with my character, like little subtle things. I think I may have missed the mark a little bit in terms of the pacing for me showing what the character's life was like previously. So you really can notice the difference between what his life is like now. But yeah, I hope doing stuff that is kind of not human will give the hint that something is up, but not so far-fetched. Like, I'm not going to be having him like leaping, giant buildings in a single bound kind of thing in front of people. This is just enough to be like, what? But not enough for people to be thinking that it's so far-fetched and out there that, someone would try to like catch the police, or not even to put it on like social media, because that's a part of our life now, right? People will see something and then they'll start putting on social media, and next thing you know, it goes viral. So I don't want my character doing too many inconspicuous things. Let's see. I have this tendency where I pencil something a long time ago. Like, I'll draw it and then I go back to it and look at it and like, you know what, I don't like this outfit for him anymore. So now I'm switching it to a 3/4 of a sleeve. Let's see here. Yeah. Okay. Oh, these are mostly school books, because he is studying. The character is actually in college. I don't have enough memories of my high school years. Not to say that I'm old. It's just because I'll be turning 30 next month. But it's just during high school, I was not, ever since I was little, I never really related to younger people. For some reason, I only related to adults, and then as I grow older, I'm now relating to my peers because they're adults. I just accept that. I accept that about myself. I accept my weirdness about myself. I've long since stopped fighting it. Take me as I am. Take me as I am. I should probably do a little tutorial about folds, huh? I want to make a couple of like just demos, simple demos and tutorials about some obscure things, because I feel like in a lot of tutorials, especially on YouTube, they cover material that I feel already recovered, but also recovered in the exact same way, like they're not bringing anything new. Let's see. So I have a couple of plans to get working on it, but you know, video editing is really not easy. I've never done it before, really. Having to learn new programs completely. Also learning how to audio edit because I know in some of my videos the audio have not been all that great. And I do apologize for that. I hope that I am able to bring in some more new, bring in some more, maybe just go ahead and buy a better mic. But I have a decent mic. I just think I need to probably practice maybe voice actor lessons or something, just so that my voice sounds better for you guys, and then actually learn how to record things so that way I sound clear. So let me know if you're able to hear what I'm saying clearly, and not too muddy, not too you don't hear my voice cracking or the pitch suddenly going higher. Sorry about that. Already at half an hour and only barely have 2 panels kind of sort of inked. Also, when I hear people say that they're able to do inking in like 2 hours, I'm like, How are you able to do that? Because this is not even a complex page. There's not really any backgrounds in this one. There's not any complex perspective in this one, and yet it's gonna take me some time. And yet there's people that says that, oh, it takes me this long amount of time, and I'm like, okay, I don't know how you do that, because every like master illustrator that I hear, unless they purposely made sure to make their artwork not take as long, they take a while. If anything, it's like, I know some people are maybe wanting to get faster, and I know I'll get faster in some things, but because I'll consciously know that because I'm able to go faster with certain things, I'll just up the challenge even more. So I'll just make my art more challenging than it was before. I don't think this is correct gravity-wise, but we're gonna leave it for today. We're gonna leave it for today. Let's see here. Okay. All right. Kind of sort of got this done. By the way, most of my illustrations before this pretty much has been girls. I don't know what made me just wake up one day and was like, I'm gonna draw a story with guys in it today. And I'm just gonna draw something kind of like a shonen manga. And it's just gonna, that's the way it's gonna be. I don't know. I just had the idea for the story. I thought it would be a cool story. I thought it'd be an enjoyable story in the sea of people in this whole ocean of people putting out either romantic comedies, a slice of life with a touch, with a dash of magic, or some variation of half demons and stuff like that. I just thought that's all cool, but can we just have like just fun stories anymore that are different from each other? Plus, I always feel like sci-fi is just really underrepresented. So, and I like sci-fi. So, I do have a, who would have the nifty screen tablets? Who are you speaking of? The character or something else? The thing is, I guess it depends on the person, because for me, I feel I have access to a screen tablet if I wanted to, and I could purchase one if I wanted to. I also have I have access to them at my school because I live near my art school, so I could just get up and go and use their Cintiqs. But um, I don't have the disassociation that some people do whenever they're drawing on a regular tablet versus a screen tablet. I've tried it several times, and to me, what ended up happening is I feel I'm hunching over, and I am hurting my back. I'm too close to the screen, and the pens don't give me like that feedback from the texture, that it's all I feel is like there's this big fat pen obstacle in front of where I want to draw. Like I don't know. I don't like it. I mean, I'll probably eventually get one now that they come in smaller sizes, but I don't feel that it has changed. I don't feel it changed how fast I'm able to do something. Personally, anyways, again, I did not have that disassociation from using a regular tablet versus pen tablet. And this was even before I started using Manga Studio. I got really good at inking in Photoshop without Manga Studio. There is a difference in using the screen tablet to an extent in Photoshop, but again, I don't see it as that. For me, I didn't see it as much as a difference. I just don't understand the dissociation. If anything, I really don't like the screen, the heat of the screen, because after maybe 40 minutes or so, and I've been going on a live chat for a while now, the side of my hands that's laying on the screen would get really, really hot. And I already know of someone who ended up having surgery because of, I think it's called repetitive motion surgery, but also because he would be on there for hours, day in, day out. And that's just not good to have your flesh basically cooking. So I don't know. It's to each his own, right? Some people find it better. For me, I'd still take this long. I'd still just take this long. Because again, I can go faster. It just won't it won't have the look that I want. I'm also problem solving when I'm inking. And what I mean is like trying to convey the sense of the material, using the thickness, the sense of the weight and emotions, the feel of the artwork, and stuff like that. So I do all of this while I'm inking because my pencils aren't that clean. So I can draw a straight line. Because it goes back to that little bit of a talking controversy over Inktober, and about the challenges that you'll be more challenged if you ink by hand, or your digital inking is not real, or things like that. And once I had no problem switching between the two because it still is the same to me. I'm able to correct inking mistakes by hand anyways. My style of inking both by hand and digitally pretty much looks the same, because I mean, it's your visual memory, it's your muscle memory, it's how you do things. And it would not take me that long for me to draw a comic using traditional media and make it look just as professional. it'd probably look even more better. That's really bad grammar. But it probably, this doesn't look right. Now it looked like he did something in his pants. We're not doing that. See there, that was an example of what I mean by I'm thinking about how I want to render something. I made him look like he did something in his pants. It was overdone. Okay. I have the debut, so the $20 one, 5, I think, or 5 or 4, one of them, just before they started calling it Clip Studio. So I haven't really gone deep into the use of the program. I haven't really try to really use all the tools. I don't color in this program, and now that Photoshop has a path correction tool, I can see that I'm going to probably use this program less and less. Like, it'll be less and less relevant to me. I've gotten used to Photoshop's blending capabilities also. Eventually, I think if, for say, I get a new computer and it's no longer compatible, I wouldn't repurchase it. The only thing that Photoshop is missing now is a perspective tool, and quite frankly, I am capable of not needing to use the perspective tool. I'll show you, I'll probably put a tutorial about cheating, background cheats that I do. See, this doesn't look right either. See, my plan was to do 2 pages tonight. Unless I plan to sit here all night, I probably ain't gonna do 2 pages. Okay. All right. Okay. I also use a very cheap little tablet. You know, the little tiny, the one that's about the size of a postcard, and then it's pretty much what I use. What cheaper version do you mean? Because right now they do subscription version, and the subscription, if you just want Photoshop, is about $11 a month, which makes the Clip Studio subscription version that they have on the iPad a bit much, because it's $9. The newest version is the only one. The 2018 version is the one that has the pen correction tool. And it also comes with all of the Kyle Webb's brushes that I bought a while ago. So now your subscription includes brushes, I believe. Oh, you mean which version of Manga Studio? The only thing that I know of, so I think I have Manga Studio Debut 5, because that's the one that has almost all of the features. About the only thing that I think it's missing is the 3D rendering feature and the book compilation feature, which is a feature where if you're doing several stories or books or whatever, it can put it together. Like, you would have a little thing on the side that tells you which page is which, so you could see it. But I don't need that because, one, I can count my own pages, and two, I have InDesign from my Adobe subscription. The 46 one goes on sale for $20, so I figured that's not us. Again, unless you're putting books together through an official printer, I don't see the need for you to get the more expensive version. But I don't know what new stuff that they have in Clip Studio Paint that would justify the more expensive version. Well, I think you can get the new Photoshop as a trial, so see if you like it. See if you like the newer Photoshop and the new pen tool that they have, and maybe try some of Kyle Webb's brushes. I'm spending way too much time on these books. I tend to not like to spend so much time on like background props that makes like you get the idea without me having to put too much effort on it. I don't like that. It's a waste of time. You get that it's a stack of books. They kind of look too neat. Too neat. I might do a little bit of cheating here and do a bit of copy and pasting. I'm gonna put out a video that just straight up talk about all the little cheats that I do on a regular. I'm having technical issues again. Yeah. I don't know why. This is what I'm talking about. Like, I have no idea why is it that it does that, but let's see if I can fix this bit of technical issues right here. Okay. Yeah, it'll stop whenever it feels like it, basically. Alright, copy pasta, copy pasting, copy pasting. Do some corrections right here. Get those in. But yeah, I'm thinking I'm probably gonna have a bit of some cheating going on in having a couple of videos that explains those cheats. One, because it sounds like a cool title for a video, and two, it's just to maybe calm down a couple of people when it comes to making artwork, digital artwork, always cheating. And it's like, okay, fine, call it what you want to call it. At the end of the day, who gets more done? I do. Who gets to have more stuff read by others? I do. You know, does the reader care? If it's good and you guys like it, you guys want more, right? So why punish me, and why punish the readers who wants to just read interesting and good books? Yeah. Yeah, this is all the stuff that goes into making comic art. I've been thinking that I'd like to have a few assistants to get some work done, but I kind of not sure what I would actually outsource. I put out some feelers in DeviantArt to do some outsourcing of flat colors, because I have an idea for a short story, well, relatively short story. It's about maybe 50-60 pages of a comic idea I have for later, and I want that comic to be in color. Normally I don't like color comics, but this one kind of feels like it should be in color, and I'm hoping to pitch it to European, specifically French publishers, and they like their stories to be like in watercolor format, and make it very pretty and all that good stuff. But it takes so much work to color. It's a whole nother level, because I'm not gonna just color a page to throw some color in it. I'm really gonna think about I'm really gonna think about what the mood is made from the colors, and really express what I want the story to convey. So I don't want to just throw down colors just for the sake of it. That actually really annoys me when people just like throw a bunch of dodge and burns. Dodge and burns is like a quick functioning tool on Photoshop. I don't like that. But I really want to make the colors look different and really express the story, because I'm hoping it's gonna be a surreal, expressive story. Yeah, I don't consider it cheating either. And the thing is, like, especially when I look up comic artists like Clamp, they use whatever they were able to use at their disposal. If you think about it, toning, like screen tones that you cut up, is kind of a cheat in that matter too, because they didn't sat there and really pointillism their the shading. They took a gray printed scale, they use a copier machine, they do all sorts of things, and we all still love their art style. In the end, it's not really so much the tools, but the capabilities and the aesthetic the taste of a person, because if a person doesn't have good taste or good eye or a good sense of shapes and directions, you could give them the best materials of the world and they just won't come up with something good. But really, it's just drama to create drama. But I think it's a funny title for a video. So I started this YouTube channel back in this March, and since then I've had so many ideas to do. I have more ideas than I'm even capable of actually completing, and sometimes I hear people saying, oh, I don't know what to do for video ideas, and I'm just like, how do you not know what to do for video ideas? I have so many ideas. Maybe some people are overthinking like what videos I should do that'll be popular, and I'm just like, you'll find the people who like your work will like it, and you'll find the people who find the videos informative or entertaining or whatever, and just keep on making good stuff. That's how I see it. Honest to honest, I have no idea why that other video that I talked about, I think it was prepping for Kickstarter, not Kickstarter, prepping for Inktober. I don't know why that video got really popular. I still don't understand it to life for me, but I hope whoever watched it found it valuable. I really need to print out a character sheet because I feel very unconfident drawing him right now because he doesn't look, I don't think he looks the way I think I drew him in the previous chapter. Let me know if ever the music is not playing correctly for you guys. Okay. Are you not able to hear any music? You just hear me talking? Because I figure just having just dead silence sometimes is not a good thing, so I try to put music, but I'm still not used to those whole technical issue things. So you hear absolutely no music. Oh well. Hopefully it's not too loud. I probably just had the audio really, really low. Sorry. Alright, that's good. It's funny, whenever I try doing comics, that my characters don't look as anime manga, and I don't know if it's part of the reasons because I'm not liking the current style that's been going on lately, but it's whichever. I like my characters to have distinct looks and actually look their age. Expressions are actually really hard to do. I feel like they're hard to do, so a lot of times I have to either look at someone else's expressions or just keep on redrawing it until I find the one that I find that looks work. See, this here is too much, so I think I'm just gonna keep it there. Whichever. She's a side character. I have a problem with people falling in love with my side characters, and I'm like, I don't know why. Make sure she looks like she's actually looking at the stack of the books.
I don't know.
There you go. Get this in. There you go. When I'm more confident with things, I do tend to go a bit faster. Some other things that let's see, people newer to art tend to do is, let's say you have something like this chair right here. They tend to make the stuff look so straight edge, not realizing that most often time manufacturers give them just a little bit of a bevel because it's just dangerous to be selling a bunch of things with sharp edges. It's not comfortable for people. years ago since I've last taken animation. And it all depends on what school you're going to, how they view animation. I think a few times, the 1 or 2 times when I started to actually get into the animation classes, I found that animation was not where I wanted to go with my work. So I didn't continue it, but it all depends. Maybe you have an animation theory class, which any theory class is pretty much just reading and history. Unless you're at an art school, you pretty much probably aren't going to get into it all that much. Okay. Let's see. I'm liking this. This came out correct. I'm glad about that. There's a lot of times you have to like zoom out to see the work that you're doing so it looks right. Or else you'll just sit in there drawing art and then you zoom out and you're like, whoa, what is this hideous thing? Huh. I cannot tell you just how much of an annoyance it was for me to draw a person holding onto a cell phone. Like, I don't think I ever want to do that again. I think after this scene, I'm not drawing anybody holding cell phones anymore. It's just not going to happen, okay? We're going to accept this. They're going to be wearing headsets. That's what it is. They'll be wearing Bluetooth headsets, okay? Okay. We just made this secret agreement right here. I might have made his hand just a slight bit too small. There you go. From time to time, I tend to have a thing where I've drawn pages a long time ago and I noticed all my mistakes, which can be a good thing on the one hand, but then you have to control yourself or else you'll just get stuck drawing the same thing over and over and over and over again. You just have to accept it. Be more acceptable. Just agree to accept the things. There you go. There you go. There. See, what time is it? 10 p.m. on a Saturday. That is what my life is about, you guys. I'm drawing and live streaming at 10 p.m. on a Saturday night, baby. Let's see here. There's a word balloon here, so I'm just not gonna draw this too much. This was kind of a hard scene for me to really grasp or try to convey here. I hope when everybody starts reading it in whole, they really enjoy it. When I decided to make this little character guy, I don't know what I was thinking. I kind of sort of wanted like that weird sidekick character that you have, but I'm not really good at designing like cute monsters and stuff. But then I end up developing him and just kind of try to figure out his personality and stuff. There's actually a couple of people in here that I just end up drawing but not really thinking about what the impact is, but I am such as that I don't like it when random characters come up in a story, so then I slowly start to like add more towards their story that will help fulfill the story and enrich the story. I really wish that more comic artists and whether they're independent or professional would take their time to look at some films and really experiment where they're doing their angles for stories and stuff, how they're doing their storyboarding, which comes to kind of comes to my rant a little bit of about this popular comic, and I figure it's far into the stream right now that hopefully too many people don't get too upset by my what might be an unpopular opinion. But before I get into that, it did take me a while to design this cute little character, and I hope maybe in the future I can figure out a version of him where you ever get those kind of like slinky type things, but they're actually, you're able to like curl the wire cord and put it into a shape. So that way I'm thinking that would be his tail, and then the rest of his body would be some kind of like soft plush or something. So then you could just like curl his tail and have him be able to do whatever, like to hang on to whatever. I thought that was just a cute idea, but that was way after I draw him. I just know that most people like those weird sidekick characters, and since he's the one that came and accidentally chose the main character to be the champion, it would make sense. This story is actually a cross between a lot of stories that I was inspired by. I was inspired by One Punch Man, with its absurdness of the shonen drama. Then I was inspired by an older show called Yu Yu Hakusho, where the characters I feel like the characters had more complexity and heart, and their interactions and the different variety of people and their reasons to be. And then there was this show called, I'm not exactly sure if I'll remember it exactly, like Special High School Defense Club Benamin or something to that extent. If you haven't watched it yet, it's a weird thing. Be careful. It's so weird. It's so weird and shiny. But I really want this comic to be something that on a day that you're not feeling all too great, you can watch this. You can read this comic, which would help more if I can get this done more pages per month. I really want to get to a monthly schedule. Hello, Mr. Rockley. I'm surprised you were able to get that username. Thanks for stopping by. Just working on my webcomic Cross-Star. I don't think there's a link at this moment immediately, but I will be posting a link after this video is edited. Working on a sci-fi adventure comic. Pretty slow with the inking, but you gotta do what you gotta do to make things look good, right? No pain, no beauty. Yeah. The last Benamin is weird. It was a weird anime. It was a parody anime of the Magical Girl series, but not dark like Madoka. It was just weird. It was very weird and very shiny and very questionable, but it was funny. It was basically when the themes start to show up in my comic, I'll explain more about that story a little bit. But it had something to do with reality television, which kind of shows up at the end of chapter something. I can't get into it too much. It's a bit too much spoilers. Too much spoilers. I do have a bit of conviction though. I do have an idea for chapter 3, and I know where it's supposed to go. I'm just kind of scared of writing chapter 3, because chapter 3 is about the time where, as a reader, you should get a certain amount of information, and I'm trying to best display that information without it being so, how should I say, too much at one time. You know, like trying to get you guys to savor the story one bit at a time without getting bored of it. That's what I want to do. And don't wait for me to just keep on chatting. If you guys have specific questions, feel free to jot it down in the chat, and I'll make sure to make a comment about it, or maybe I could use that as a future video. Maybe it was something you guys were thinking about that it just never occurred to me to talk about. So anatomy mistakes. To be honest, I'm not too picky about anatomy all that much anymore. I mean, I am, but not really. I do just enough to convey the character so you get an idea of what's going on. And I do hope to improve as time goes on, but I try not to let it limit me, because if I let it limit me, or if you let yours limit or if you have your limitations keep you from doing something, then you'll never actually do it. And if you don't ever do it, then you never improve. So it's kind of like you need to have one in order to have the other. So I really hope one day I'm able to do this full time, because I'm just I just really want to just work on this at this point, which is very ironic, because there was a time I did not want to work on comics. I didn't have the eagerness, the desire, like the hunger to work on it, and now I'm that's all I kind of want to work on, is making new stories. I no longer really have like an illustration bug, because there was a time where I just kept on making illustrations, and now I'm just kind of like, I want to make illustrations, but I want it based on the story. I just have stories. I got stuff to show, guys. I got stuff to do. But yeah, going back to my little bit of a rant when it comes to story pacing. So I was reading the very, very popular comic called Saga by Brian something and Fiona Staples, I think, is the illustrator. I don't have the comic with me right now, so forgive me if I'm not getting the who's who of comics right now. And I read book 1 through 5, no, book 2 to 5, because they did not have book 1 at the library. So that cannot be helped. And I really feel that I got the sense that the people who are drawing it really love what they were doing. Like, you can really tell they were just having the time of their life. They were just enjoy drawing and writing and making these cool comics, and that they're very happy that they're selling very well, that they're just, the people who are reading it are loving their comics, and like, I really feel like they're not pandering or anything. They're just enjoying their comic. They just enjoy doing what they're gonna do, which, that's the end of the positive part. The part that I just don't get the part that I don't understand, but I understand it when I think about the people who like the stuff. I get it, because there's a lot of stuff that I like that people just kind of look at me, you know, they give me the side eye, like, what is wrong with you, or whatever. But there's just a few things where I know that art is subjective, but there are a few things where I felt this had nothing to do with subjectivity, because there's plenty of artwork that I work on a daily basis that I would never purchase, that I personally don't care for, because I can objectively say, however, that this is good. And it's not really just the art, really. I think the premise of what's essentially a Romeo and Juliet in space is good. It's a good premise. I just think that, and I do appreciate that you can tell that the writer and the artist are enjoying themselves with the story. I just think that there's a number of things that they fail to do. And it's not just me. There's people who genuinely likes the comic, that they genuinely like the comic, and yet they notice these flaws. And you can say that with almost anything that you purchase, but these flaws are very much like basic story flaws. One being that the dialogue is not the best. It's not good, but it's not good in terms of, oh, this is badly written. It's not good in that everyone sounds like the same person, that came from the same place, that was raised by the same people, that was interacting with the same group of friends. Like, they all sound the same. No matter what alien race they're from, no matter what age group they're in, like, they all sound the same. And it got me to thinking how I really am curious and wondering about my characters. I know that sometimes people have mentioned that I do bring some sort of diversity to my comics, and they're not intentional in terms of, oh, I need to have this character in there, but it just comes up because, to me, I'm surrounded by a lot of different people on a regular basis. I interact with them. They may not all be my friends, but I notice them, you know, and I like to kind of people watch a little bit. I used to work in retail, and now I still interact with a lot of different people, and I just start to notice these things in people. And to me, I find it really, really, really strange when I end up living in an area that's very homogenous. It doesn't matter what they are. It's just the fact that they're homogenous that it strikes me as odd, because for the longest of time, I lived in an area that was predominantly relatively diverse. I also went to somewhat of an international school, so we had a number of students from other countries that would go through, and because it is Florida, we do have a high tourist area, and I guess tourists will come and they're like, you know what, let's settle to Florida. So we get a lot of like people from other countries settling into Florida. You hear all sorts of accents, you have all sorts of foods. It's just a lot of just differentness that I am so used to that by the time, ironically, when I moved to New York for a time, your neighborhood was very homogenous because all the immigrants already moved, came in and settled in, and didn't really move away from wherever it is that they're living in. So ironically, New York is where I felt like there was too much homogeny, whereas where I am in Florida, you know, people are doing their thing and they're just moving wherever. It's not that hard for me to find Indonesians, Koreans, Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, and then Americans from different parts of life, whether it's like California, Tennessee, Native Americans, actual Native Floridians, people from New York, people from Texas, like people from Louisiana. There's a lot of different Southern accents, different kinds. I realized that. The ones in Georgia is not the same from Tennessee, and most definitely not the same from New Orleans. And it just struck me very odd that this popular comic had everyone sound the same and have the same set of vocabulary. It just struck me as kind of odd. The second thing that I found strange was the panels. No, you know what's in the back of his pocket actually is his wallet. Maybe that is a confusing detail, because guys always have gigantic wallets and they just sit it in the back of their pants. I'm overthinking this. I mean, I guess it could be in his back pocket. I mean, if you don't get that he's just sitting there hiding in his hoodie, that's fine too. I'll make it more obvious then. But yeah, as I was saying about the Saga thing, we have the characters sounding the same, but then you have the paneling, or like the panels, or the way the storyboards. It felt like everything was done in a kind of like since you're going into animation, and maybe some others, I'll probably try and explain it, but it all looked like keyframes and absolutely no in-betweens. And everybody was voguing, and voguing is the word where, like, you know, the magazine Vogue, and it's basically a catch-all phrase of people were just posing all the time. So I'm reading the comic and I feel like everyone is striking a pose, for lack of a better word. Like, I don't know how to explain it if you have never read the comic. When you read it, you'll understand that everyone is kind of striking a pose, and it was kind of distracting to me, but not in a heavy sort of way, because I didn't read the story thinking that I would like it. I was reading the story to understand why people would like it, and I just kind of was like, other than it's a fun tropey, you know, fun story, I still, or rather it has a very particular taste. That was just one thing that I was like, well, as an actual action story, I don't feel that it feels actiony. I really tried to push the angles of my stories. So I just felt that too many of the panels, like, it got to a point where I'd read a story or a page, and mentally I'm already envisioning it like mangafied or something, like a bit more dynamic than what was chosen for the panels. And then after that, the rest of the stuff was like little things where I wasn't really understanding the characters' motivations, or why they chose to do what they did. I am not understanding the choice in how they're pacing the story. I felt some places were getting really slow, other places went way too fast. Other characters came and gone really quick. There was one character that just came right on in and died really quickly, and I was just kind of like, you didn't develop me wanting this character to exist, so you killing them off that quickly did not serve that character at all. Like, no one got a chance to really develop in loving that character. You just decided to have that character there to be killed so everybody else could feel sad about them. But if anyone has ever watched Star Trek, most people don't feel sad for the red shirts. Like, we know they're gonna die. So, but for her, you didn't know she was gonna die, but that's basically what he or she was treated as. Like, you're just kind of like, okay, well, I barely got to know you. So, I mean, bye. You had a nice life, I guess. It is already 10:30 and I have not even gotten to C'est la vie. I don't think I'll get to the second page tonight, not without staying up late, and I have to wake up in the morning, so I'll just lightly ink the rest of this page. And then there's just some things in the Saga story that I was like, that doesn't make, is that meant for character development, or is it just there because it's cool? There was, yeah. Now this part is just straight up opinion, because people can like stuff like that. I personally don't like it where people put things for the sake of shock value. Because in a world where everybody's trying to shock you, at least for me, it's no longer shocking. I just kind of like, okay, and what was the point of that? There was no point. All right, well, it didn't shock me because you were trying too hard to shock me. And in my opinion, because again, this is the point where it's just opinion, I didn't particularly care for some of the designs for a lot of things. I don't even understand the development of how things are going about either. And then there's just some really trippy juxtapositions of a house that straight up look like a new development house that you find in those new neighborhoods in Orlando and in Tampa and pretty much everywhere in Florida. Like the houses straight up look like that, and I just kind of like, okay. And I don't understand why we're having magic and summoning and spell casting in a sci-fi comic. I mean, you can have it. After all, it is your story, it is your choice. And I think somewhere in Star Trek they mentioned that someone who assumes something is magic is just a higher form of science that we don't understand. But it's literally called casting. So I don't know. It's not my thing. I think there's a study. I'm sorry. Like again, like I don't, and ironically, I'm actually quite a conservative person, but I'm a logical conservative person in that you go ahead and do your thing, but giving birth is a natural fact of life. It is not pretty. It is not comfortable. It is very painful. But then I'm just like, but what's the point of choosing that angle shot for your story other than for shock value? But then I'm like, but pregnancy is a natural thing, so I'm not shocked by it, but okay. I didn't read the first chapter, the first book. I read the second book, and there's a lot of instances in it where it's like, and the backgrounds are not good. Let's just be real. The characters, single characters are fine, but her backgrounds leave a lot to be lacking. But again, it's just, there's a lot of parts, and it's not just me. There's people who genuinely love her stories, do mention that at times they just do it just for the sake of it, and there's people who want that. That's their taste. That's what they're looking for. Whereas other people would look at my work and be like, why does your characters look so pretty? And, why is the character so shiny? And why is there not this and that? And I would just be like, because that's not what I like. So I get that there are people who like her stuff and his stuff because it's a team. I understand. That's why those parts are opinion. But the part that is not opinion is straight up bad dialogue and bad storyboarding. That's not opinion. It's not done well. But stuff like choosing to be bloody for the sake of bloody and then weirdly go into weird comedy. I mean, if that's what you like, that's what you like. That I'm just gonna say that I think it's not a really good idea, but people like it. I'm sorry, I should warn. It's a rated mature book story, but the thing is, like, when you actually read the story, there's nothing about it mature other than the fact that they decided to specifically pick to depict story elements in the most shocking of manner way. But then I'm like, but it didn't help the story at all. Like, it didn't distract the story. It just didn't help the story. I didn't see the point of it. Start now. I can start now. Yay! Let's get on to this. Hello, and welcome, folks. This is Satria. Had a bit of a streaming issue, but let's go ahead and get started on that. Alrighty. I know it has been quite a bit of time for me to get back into working on comics, but especially since I have 3 more pages of inking to do left, so that way I can finally update part 1 of chapter 2. Definitely have to say I really want to get at least 2 of the pages done and then get the last page done tomorrow, and then get into the toning and the inking and things like that. Start now. I can start now. Yay! Let's get on to this. Hello, and welcome, folks. This is Satria. Had a bit of a streaming issue, but let's go ahead and get started on that. Alrighty. I know it has been quite a bit of time for me to get back into working on comics, but especially since I have 3 more pages of inking to do left, so that way I can finally update part 1 of chapter 2. Definitely have to say I really want to get at least 2 of the pages done and then get the last page done tomorrow, and then get into the toning and the inking and things like that. So let's see here. Just gonna do a quick little few things off screen, and we will get right into working on some pages. Hope that some of you who get to come into the chat are doing well, and hope that those that get to watch the replay, maybe you're watching this while you're just working on your own stuff. Hopefully you're finding it quite well too. I'm just gonna go ahead here and check on a few things. Pause right here. And keep in mind you can't see all these things, but I'm gonna go ahead and get this working in here. Been having a bit of a technical problems also lately for some reason, but I think all is good. Okay. That's how much details I add to it. And then other times I'm like, you know, you could have added just a little bit more finesse right here. You can tell I've been reading way too many books. Adding the note of the binding and everything. Let's see here. Another thing I guess I could chat about, because I really want to finish this chapter before I head to bed, but My Hero Academia. I have to say I really love this comic, but it is starting to get to that part where I personally don't like when shonen manga goes to, and that is like really excessively long arcs that feel a little bit out of character in terms of character growth. Deku Midoriya, I think I think that's his name. Excuse me, I can't exactly recall everybody's name, but Deku, he's at a point where he's really showing ahead of time like his overpoweredness, and it's really weird to have a main character who was born with absolutely nothing become so overpowered within 150-ish chapters. And now we're at a point where I feel the story actually slowed down, even though they're in the middle of one of the boss fights. You know what? My Hero Academia would make for a very good video game RPG, because he literally have actual boss battle fights. But it's starting to get really slow. They've introduced way too many characters, way too many quirks. Too many of them had their own chapter, personalized chapter now, and I just worry that this is going to be another one of those comics where it burned brightly, very bright, very fast, and then it burns out really quickly. The example would be Bleach. The first chapter, I was rereading the first chapter of Bleach just to get my mind back into that whole shonen manga set, and it's kind of sad where it ended up, because I stopped reading the comic probably around chapter 300 something or whatever, and no, not even, I don't even remember where I stopped. I just know I stopped, and I read the last couple of chapters just to know where the story ended, and it just got so bad. I don't even know what to say. It just was so bad, where it burned so bright so fast, and it was really popular, really hot. A lot of people got influenced by their style. Unfortunately, it just ended up just tank. It just tanks so hard, and I worry that Boku no Hero Academia, My Hero Academia will end up with that same problem, because this last arc really made no point. I really don't care. I mean, I know readers care, and I do care, but when a certain character do a certain thing, at that point I no longer care about their character motivations. There's no redeeming factor that's gonna get me to care about certain characters that act a certain way. There is no redeeming quality. There is no explanation for their personality. I know there's a trend to be oh, you need to have an awesome villain, but then there's but some of these trends are making these villains kind of sounding like there's an actual discussion to be made to justify the actions that they take, and it's no, they were just too lazy to take the harder route. That's all it was. They got too many resources, too much praise, way too quickly. Yeah, so I wasn't a fan of Grimjaw, but that's because I didn't read the comic. I literally stopped as soon as I got into the whole Hueco Mundo thing, which I'm assuming is some kind of Spanish Latin based word for white world, I think. I just didn't understand the point. I don't get the point. I still don't get the point. People started cosplaying characters I've never seen before, and I'm I don't get the point, and I don't care. And the last chapter, you don't see none of those characters from that arc. They don't come up at all. And I was okay, so if I'm reading the last 10 chapters and those other characters don't show up at all, none of them, not one of them, that just tells you just how much it was useless. It was really unnecessary. There was no point to it. I don't get it. I don't get why we needed to. The story started to get even more fan servicey for both guys and girls, I think. There were some characters towards the end. I don't want to spoil it per se, even though it's already ended. I stopped watching the anime a while ago too. I don't know if the anime actually continued towards the end either, or if they just did like a quick. I don't even know what the end of the anime was. But it was so stupid. It just got so dumb, like really just dumb. Like, I mean, you can tell like he's not a good writer, and then the editor, whoever his editors were, just kind of gave up on him, and no one else can really say anything to this. Like, he should have just been a video game illustrator and be done. Like, Kubo should have just been an illustrator, like a video game illustrator, because he makes really cool illustrations. I don't think he's really good for writing, like, because after what happened with Bleach, I looked at previous comics and I'm like, he's writing the same story over and over and over again. I don't know if he knows what to do with that though. Speaking of older shows, this one was completed a while ago, but I was just looking up the commercial that Arby's that fast food did about Inuyasha. It was just really unexpected to come about on my Twitter, but that was another series that I just like, yeah, I'm not keep watching this. Whenever you guys decide to actually find the full Shikon Jewel or whatever, then I'll read the end. And the end was announced, and I did read the end. And again, so many extra characters that came up in the story did not show up at the end. There was no point to it. I don't get it. Like, you literally don't need to read almost anything in the middle to understand the ending. In the end, all the people that you know that was gonna get together got together. People live happily ever after in the weirdest sense. Even though, if you ask me, that story should not have ended that way, but it didn't bother me. And it's just, I mean, I love shonen manga, but I have to say that because of the way the system is set up, it really ended up muddying an otherwise really good story. On the flip side, in American comics, because of costing and stuff, you pretty much are locked into doing short stories unless you publish it by yourself. It's 10:51. I think I'll probably be done in about half an hour. Because I am getting quite sleepy. But I'm glad I did this stream. I'm glad I started working back on the comics. I have to say that I started this week pretty gloomy. I was very moody this week. I was not happy. Just general things going on. But today I went out with some friends. We had a picnic. And it felt really good to be out in the sun and to be around positive influences, and I feel much better. And then to end the day being productive, I'm really happy about that. So I have this Kickstarter running. Even though it's smaller than my last Kickstarter, I think there's a number of reasons why it might not end up being funded. I'm only asking for $875 just to print and ship things, but it might not end up getting funded, and there's a number of reasons why, but we'll see how it ends. Who knows, maybe at the last minute it might pick up. But I have that to work on. In case anyone's interested, after I'm done with the stream, in terms of watching the replay, if you've watched this far into it anyways, I do have a Kickstarter running, the Queen's Kickstarter, and there's another video that I have listed on here for that. And I'm just basically collecting the artwork that I did for Inktober, which I regret not recording more of the process, but I got sick partial way through the month and I wasn't able to really just sit to keep on standing and recording. Plus I need a new camera. I need a lot of new stuff. I don't really have a recording camera. I'm using a $25 smartphone to record this stuff. I do have a decent mic that I bought for $60, but I know it has a lot of limitations. And I do like my little tablet, but I might be updating to a different tablet, but that's not too biggie. But I do want to have like better, I really think I need to find myself like a refurbished camera off of eBay or something, but still coming up with like $400 to drop all of a sudden is not easy. But if I'm gonna take this serious, like there's no point in me making videos if you can't see what I'm doing on there. So if I'm gonna make that quality and not have to deal with the frustration of the cheap phone, I might as well just accept it. I just have to accept it. This stream has been all about acceptance of limitations. This was my third Inktober, so I finally actually finished this Inktober, and the 3 days at the end of Inktober I sat and did 12 illustrations because I already had in mind that I was gonna finally finish one. So it's like, darn, you know, like I finally finished it, but I may not do it next year. I might do it the year after, but not next year, because it did put a pause on me working on my comics, and I kind of really rather work on comics. I feel like working on comics, you know. I really enjoy working on this comic, even though it's also a pain to create. I like it. It's a good kind of pain. As for backing the tier, I know for Kickstarter you can change it. So if you're unsure, you can go at the lower tier if you want to, at $15, which gets you the book and the sticker. But if you want to own one of my artwork, then you would go for the higher tier. Or if you want just a custom little mini artwork of yourself as a king or queen or whatever. But you can change your backer level throughout the campaign, which is only going on for 2 weeks, which could be part of what hurts it too, because I think some people might assume that this was going on for 30 days and that I just haven't had much backers, and it's like, no, I made it small so that way I can get the orders in and then get it shipped out before people go a bit crazy with the post office, because I do not want packages getting lost. Like I don't want to deal with lost packages. The USPS has been quite finicky lately to begin with, and then right after that will be the tax return frenzy. So I'm trying to like get it out before everyone else's stuff start going out, which is why I made it a short 2 weeks thing. And plus it's mostly a black and white type project. I don't expect to get that much backers. I'm not that popular either. Just for those who wants to collect it, because And then it lets me know if not enough people want it, I don't need to print a bunch of them and then end up just sitting on old books, you know? But yeah, I probably won't be doing Inktober next year. I do have a personal challenge for next year. I do want to post up an illustration almost every day on Instagram, and I do want to get back to posting more and more regular video content for YouTube. I have a lot of ideas, so I want to get through as much of it as possible, and then eventually I'll probably request for a channel review, not someone reviewing my channel like to suggest it to other people, but to review to make sure that what I'm doing is actually good, like a critique. That's the better word. Get a channel critique and then continue to work on stuff. But I definitely want to practice with my voice, the way I speak, the way I modulate the voice, so that way people can understand and the machine can record it correctly. I want to capture better quality photos because I'm hoping to do some conventions this coming year. Oh my goodness, getting into Anime Boston. We'll see if I actually got into it, but I don't know. I don't know. Anime Boston, I think I need some kind of other tactics or something, because that convention was too much headache. That was way too much headache. It reminds me why I stopped doing cons for some years, because I was really starting to get really irritated by convention dramas and stuff. Like I don't understand. Why is it with everything when it comes to the arts, everyone is trying to screw people over in the arts? Like, I don't know when that became a trend. I don't know when that became a thing. Like, the way, for me, I'm ready to just give up on something, so I need to. But I have not been in Anime Boston in years, so I just want to go just to see what is the frenzy about. Just to see. But maybe, who knows? Some of you guys watching this video might see me at a convention in the future. Which, by the way, do post on the comments below what kind of conventions or that I should probably check out to sell at, or maybe even to do a couple of panels. I might do some how to draw panels or something. I'm gonna finish this book set. Drawing books are annoying. I'm finding everything annoying today, huh? I either find acceptance or I find annoyance. One of the two. They all look like encyclopedias or Bible or something. You know, it just occurred to me, I need to go back and decide what his major is. I guess it's a little bit of both acceptance and annoyance. What major should he be? I was thinking of giving like general business ed major, because I feel like all the people who didn't know what to do with themselves just went to general business ed majors and hoped to get like a basic office job. And that sounds about right for this character. So there's several stacks of books here that I am going to copy and paste because I'm tired. Political science and business. But I've never known anyone around political science. I might be too worried that I might misrepresent who or whatever does that, like the type of characters that would go into it. But I think business would work, because I've taken business before, and I know of people who just go into business because it's just something to do while at school, and they figure, hey, you know, it's business classes. You can never go wrong with business classes. But I think most business classes, unless they really train you to make your own projects or public speaking, they pretty much are useless. They don't give you that much work. At least I found business classes were much easier than art school was, man. Art school is hard. I'm glad that he looks bored, because it's part of the character. It'll come up later on in the story, so I don't want to spoil it too much, because I want to really build on the characters, like the subtle things about the characters. You know, I started drawing this comic without actually giving this character a name. He has a name now, but I didn't give him a name before. See, for some reason I made him some Spanish kind of a guy. I don't even hang around a lot of Spanish. Lately I've been hanging around a lot of Portuguese though, and I don't know why I made him Spanish. I just started drawing him and he just came out Spanish. I had no control of, had very little control over that. The last character I did was for a story, actually, a book that I wrote. It could have been better of a story. If you want to read it, just send me a message or just leave a comment after the live stream's been published, and I can send you that story. And I made that character Italian, and people were kind of wondering why he's Italian. I'm like, I don't know. I drew him, and I figure, yeah, I would be like, you know, he kind of looks Italian, so I'm just gonna make him Italian. I had no thought about it. I just started drawing people, and I just started saying, yeah, they look like this kind of person. Let me just say they're that person. Goodbye. I think I have most of everything done. Okay, so I'm at this point where I'm going to go ahead and stop. But let me go ahead and show you the kind of inking that I do before I actually go and add in thin and thicker lines and some finesse into the inking work, so you can get a sense of weight and all that stuff, and probably go back and do the word balloons on a later video. But just to show you guys I'm taking out. So right now the ink work is very, very thin. From there I just go in and started really giving the effects. So I'm not going to do the whole page, but just to show a quick preview on the next time on Satria's Art live stream channel. So for example, I'll start very thin and then go a little bit thicker, maybe filling in, and slowly start to build the shape of the characters so they really pop out from the page. But anyhow, thank you for watching, you guys. I appreciate you staying in, asking questions. I do even appreciate the ones that popped in and pop out. If you are watching the replay, I hope you found this information helpful. Please leave your comments and questions below. And please do check out my Kickstarter. Let me go ahead and quickly show a little bit about what's going on. If I can get to it, that is. Yep. So I hope you guys get a chance to take a look at it, see if you like it. Please do spread the word and share it with others. But tomorrow, Sunday, I plan to have another live stream and you can see the rest of me completing the page. Have a good night, you guys. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.